And welcome back. It's another news episode here on the Bamsters Rated R Show. It is Monday, January 21st, 2019. As always, my name is Christian, but hey, you can call me G. And here to present news, co-host, or whatever you want to call it, all the way from sunny California, Stan, it's Drac.
Gotta get my paperwork together here so I can present all this news. Hey folks, hope you've had a pretty good Monday. We're a little bit late on this because I was out of town this weekend, so we're recording Monday afternoon instead of typically doing this on the weekend. So hopefully we get this out before you go to bed tonight. But anyway, let's just jump right into it. Something that kind of raised my eyebrows, caught my attention today, is the, well, let me put it to you this way. Gee, have you ever had a speeding ticket?
No, but most of my speeding has been on 2 wheels, not 4 wheels.
Okay, have you ever had any kind of fine given to you in the form of a ticket from the police?
No, because I'm really cute.
Well, then you're one of the lucky ones. How would you feel if they handed you a fine for 50,000 euros? Or sorry, 50 million euros.
50 million euros. Okay, so that gets funky because we do have a couple of places over here in Europe where technically that's probably possible. There's a couple of places where you are fined a percentage of your income. As in, if you go above a certain level, like small speeding is just, here's a standard fine. But if you get over a certain level, you get a summons, you get pulled into court, and they issue you either what is known as day fines or a fine that is a percentage of your income. Those last ones have hit very, very large monetary amounts. But not 50 million, I think.
Yeah, that's what got my eyebrows raising. So I guess the folks over in France have decided to fine Google for what they're saying is failing to provide transparent and easily accessible data consent policies. They're saying it can take some time.
GDPR.
Yeah. So apparently this is the first big slap on the wrist, fine, whatever, that we're seeing as a result of that. And I guess they're saying because it's buried so far in the menus that it can take somewhere like around 5 or 6 different clicks through menus and submenus before you can even find out what Google's doing with your data.
Yeah, this is one of those that's been, I've sort of been waiting for any of them to be hit, because there's a lot of them that actually don't follow the requirements. I was in just one now, actually one of the other topics we'll be talking about, where when they go and say, oh, by the way, GDPR, do you accept? And then there's a big arrow pointing accept all, making that the default button. That's actually not allowed.
Oh, really?
So they put in a GDPR, you should probably say Global Data Protection Rights, I think it is, thing, like a box, and asking you, yeah, are you okay with this? And even that one violates the actual law. So, nicely going, website.
But I mean, to a company like Google, I understand they'd be able to afford that $50 million fine, or 50. Well, I guess in US it works closer to $57 million, but the 50 million euro fine, I'm sure they can handle that probably a lot better than many companies.
It's peanuts. It's petty cash, and it's nothing compared to what they could be fined if it was a larger breach. This is non-compliance. This isn't a breach. Large breach, they can get properly expensive.
So do you think
2% of global profit?
Okay, so I was going to say, do you think this is some kind of percentage thing is why the 50 million euros was set? Or?
I think this is just a judge saying, yeah, this is still a large enough number that it will hurt. Some boss somewhere is going to get fired or what have you. But it's small enough that, again, it's peanuts in the grand scheme of things. It won't break Google by any measure, not even Google France. So it's enough to make them sit up. It's not enough to really hurt them.
Makes sense. Well, all right. I'm going to move us right along. You brought us some interesting, juicy rumors about Fallout 76.
Yeah, Bammy actually asked us to cover this one. Now, I played 76, I reviewed it. It was, I should probably say, a buggy mess. Now it's less buggy, less mess, but it's still not.
I don't know if I agree with that, because I actually played recently, and it looked like some of the things that they had done to try and fix only made it worse. So,
Some things have made it worse.
yeah.
But I think you're playing on the PC where it's less of a buggy mess than on the PlayStation. So, yeah, you're on your way down to us. But apparently, the game has been removed from shelves in a lot of stores. Stock hasn't been sent out. And a theory that's been going the rounds is that they're removing physical copies from the supply chain for the purpose of going free to play. It's a last-ditch effort to revive a game. And just so we're clear, over here, I was given the game by a couple of mates, but it cost $77 for the basic version.
Well, we've seen some other games go that route where they start out charging for the game and then go free to play. And
yeah, but this is a game, as I said, $77, and there's microtransactions in. So if they seem to be getting okay money on the microtransactions, perhaps they can drop the full price. Which, okay, it isn't full, hasn't been for more than one. Barely a month it was full price.
yeah, I picked mine up on a sale for only like $30. So, but you know, it's funny because I almost wonder if they're trying to garner some goodwill prior to E3. Maybe they have something to show at E3, or if they're going to skip E3 altogether this year. I know last year when they came to E3 and we get to see that stuff, and they announced that Fallout 76 was going to be multiplayer, I was actually shocked because there were some rumors that Bethesda was going to announce something multiplayer, and if anything was going to be announced multiplayer, I would have thought it would have been Rage 2. I know that game seems to more fit a multiplayer model than one might expect out of Fallout 70 or Fallout series, which isn't to say you can't have multiplayer in Fallout, because you can, and it can work. But interestingly enough, on the topic of like multiplayer stuff, something I saw towards the end of last week is there's a Skyrim, what are they calling it? Skyrim Play Together or something to that effect that will allow you to play with 7 other friends, so 8-player co-op through the Skyrim game. And that seems to be nearing its completion. It's currently going through a beta test just for the Patreon backers, but it is expected to release soon.
That's a mod, actually. Yeah, a third-party mod that adds in multiplayer. That's kind of interesting.
They got kind of held back or held up a little bit because I think originally they wanted to use the Steam API to do the multiplayer, and Bethesda came out and was like, no, they wouldn't let them do that for some reason. So,
yeah, just to wrap up something you said, people didn't expect the Fallout 76 multiplayer. We called it half a year early. If you check our Twitter feed, probably my own, you'll see me being utterly confused. Why am I being told about Fallout multiplayer? And in the chat, you'll see people go, no, it's that new Skyfall game. Starfall, whatever, the space game. That's the one that's going full multiplayer. So that's not what we're hearing. So it was interesting watching that presentation and hearing them go, oh yeah, it's multiplayer. Okay, so it was. What do you know?
Yeah. Well, and that might have made sense too for them to do the space one as multiplayer, but just with them releasing Rage 2, I don't know, that I was actually disappointed that didn't have co-op in it.
Yeah, a little bit. I think Skyrim, I don't think we'll see an official multiplayer Skyrim. But the next one, Elder Scrolls 6, I wouldn't be surprised if they try something there. But there is an Elder Scroll Online, so
Yeah, there's an argument to be made about, Skyrim versus ESO or the next Elder Scrolls game versus ESO and whatnot. They are in some ways different games, but yeah, they do share the same world. I've always wished I could have played Skyrim together with buddies, in part because they might have helped to keep me on track with the story. You play a game like Oblivion or Skyrim, and you just get lost in the world.
Yeah, that works well in Fallout 76. The guys kept me on the story as opposed to me just wandering off. But no, it's nice to see they're doing this mod. It's awesome that they actually got permission to do it. However much permission is involved, but there is a mod. So.
Well, and if we're looking at mods and remasters and remakes and all that, did you ever play System Shock?
Nope. I don't think so, at least.
I haven't. I played a little bit of the original. Man, that game was out way back. I want to say... Well, you know what? I'm not going to guess because I can't honestly remember, and I didn't spend a lot of time playing it either. But there's a System Shock Remastered that's been in the works for a while now, and we'll make sure there's a link in the description, but they're showing off the final artwork for it, and it looks pretty good.
But isn't that the one that's getting flack for not being System Shock?
I don't know.
I think there were some issues with that, so, let's put it this way, people, if you're interested, go check it out, sure. But you might want to also see some of the complaints that's popping up.
Are they saying it's not sticking to the original story or quest lines, or?
Yeah, that it deviates too much in key areas mechanically.
Well, I will say this much. It'll sound like it's in defense of this remaster, but not that's not the intention. But sometimes when you're redoing things, it can be difficult to try and do them exactly as they were done before.
Yeah, and for a lot of older games, even if you have the source code, it's not usable. It's not that easy to migrate.
I don't know what the team size is that's working on this, but it definitely looks neat. I think it'll be interesting to play through, and I'm not going to be carrying over a lot of memories from the original since I didn't play through much of the original.
And that's sort of what matters, I think. Okay, should we move on a little bit? Get away from some gaming.
Well, you're talking about getting different results here on a on a remaster, so.
Yes. One that caught my eye. A couple of twins. Chelsea Agro and Carly, they run a little thing called Marketplace, where they test things amongst other things. And they got some home DNA kits. Ancestry DNA, MyHeritage, 23andMe, those things. Got 5 of them, and they got 2 of each. Did the testing, swabbing the cheek and whatever, send it off, and they got basically 10 different results. Now, some of them were only slightly different, like one sister was a few more percentage point one thing than the other one. And that's sort of within what's doable with DNA, if you remember your high school biology, but a couple of them were really off. So it's one of those, the only thing you can take away from this is those home testing kits are not precise enough. There's some BS behind them. They're not that incorrect. I've seen a few where people knew their heritage quite well, and they tested and it came back as that. So, it was just curious one. Twins should have not 100% identical, as said. There are some differences. Things that can be expressed, things that can happen in testing. But they should have been a lot more precise than they were. So it was one of those curious little things.
Yeah, I've always said, for me at least, if I were gonna do any of that testing, at minimum I'd have to send off 3 different companies just to see how close they were. Because I just using one company, not really knowing enough about their process or their accuracy, and just taking that as gospel. I don't know. I feel. I guess, if it makes you feel happy, it gives you some information maybe you didn't have before, and you can, trust it, then okay. But,
yeah, I know my heritage fairly well. Like, if it comes back and says anything other than everything in Europe, like that's literally, I can trace my ancestry to every corner of the European continent. Subcontinent, yeah. Then something will be wrong. Although it should come back and say redheaded, no? That's for good measure. What I worry about regarding them is you're handing your DNA over to somebody and they have a financial interest in this. Like, your DNA will show whether you're more predisposed to certain illnesses, certain, what are they called? Autoimmune illnesses, autoimmune diseases tend to have some genetic links. Some heart diseases, some like cataract is one of them as well. So it's one of those things. I don't want them to go to insurance companies and sell off that information. I'm opposed to the idea that insurance companies afterwards go and say, oh, by the way, you're more predisposed to this condition, therefore your insurance premium will go up. Just because I did a DNA test.
Guess I never really considered that as a possibility, but you make an interesting point.
Yeah, so I wouldn't run it. I would love to get the data on my kids, because it would be interesting to see what they end up with my heritage, my wife's heritage, just to see what's the mix. The statistician in me would find that funny. But I don't want to have their medical data out in a corporate entity's hands.
Guess you have to find a way to do it under an assumed name.
Yeah, or get my own DNA kit built somehow.
Good luck with that. You know, since you're talking about building your own DNA kit, I'll run through this one real quick because I know we're kind of up against the clock here and we've kind of gone over a little bit. I don't know if, for any of our listeners, if you've heard of or have been following the what I'll call Soulja Boy's Oddessy, where he's been releasing a variety of consoles and handheld gaming systems. Soulja Boy was a rapper back in, I want to say it was the early 2000s. I think. I can't exactly remember when he was popular. I for the most part, I think that at least mainstream-wise, he's kind of faded into obscurity. Like I said, on mainstream. I don't know in the rap scene. I don't know.
Listened to music in the early 2000s, never heard of him. But then music.
Yeah, right? Hey.
I don't mind hip-hop.
But
I guess he's a US thing.
Well, most likely. So anyway, like a few weeks back, he released what folks are calling a Nintendo knockoff console with a bunch of ROMs on it. And the reason they're calling it a Nintendo knockoff is because it looks just like a Nintendo Wii. He was out on Twitter and he had some YouTubers that were calling him out on it, and his response was to say that, Nintendo won't do shit. Well, Nintendo did get involved, and those Nintendo Wii knockoffs have been pulled off of his web store. But he wasn't to be discouraged, and shortly thereafter, he released a handheld console, which looked suspiciously like a PSP or PS Vita. I didn't have either one of those, so I'm not sure. I can't be, too clear on which it might be.
Barely. I'm gonna say not even closely to a PSP. That's the thing it gets closest to. More like a DS, to be honest. No,
I remember the Nintendo DS. The shape and look of this is much more like a PSP or a PS Vita.
Yeah, the square shape, sure, but the keys we didn't have those. They don't.
Okay. Yeah. So now the thing is, he's releasing these, and he's not saying anything about whether or not they have any ROMs on them. So I guess now that's the thinking, is that's how he's getting around this potential legal hurdle. And he was on a podcast not too long ago where he was talking about all this, and he was claiming, I guess someone asked, or he made the claim that Fortnite isn't going to be on the current line of hardware he has, but it'll be on the next gen console that he's going to be releasing. And Epic saw this and more or less laughed it off and was like, yeah, no, that's not likely going to happen because our games cannot run on knockoff and other types of hardware like that. So they're just like, they're basically calling him out on it right away, which was funny. I will say this, if it's something you've even looked at, if you're a fan of Soulja Boy, you're paying for the name that's stickered on that console, because you can find a lot of these same things, quote unquote Chinese knockoffs on other websites at a significant discount from the price that's being sold on his website. So in my mind, the only ones getting played are the people buying this stuff.
If you can't find this on Alibaba, something's wrong.
Yeah. So, anyway, so that'll be our Monday news, which, folks, sorry you may not hear this till Tuesday, but we will get it out at some point today, at least today, U.S. time.
Yeah, Drac gets to edit this one. People, it was just the roundup of the news, and we will talk to you again on Wednesday, where we are covering, if I'm not mistaken, some retro gaming.
Yes, we have an interview this Wednesday, so stay tuned for that with the publisher for Old School Gamer magazine.
Or, as you might just say, the old gamers. No, really old gamers like me. Ciao, everybody.
Adios.